Good day, everybody. This is Martin John, and I'm here to present Tao of the Day. Tao of the Day is a program I do weekday mornings, Central Time usually. I try and do an episode every day, but some days that just doesn't happen. Others, easy cheesy. Um, but today we're going to be talking, as we always do, Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written about 600 BCE, easily obtained, translated by many, many people. The translation that I'm going to be using, and I've been using for a number of months, is my own. I've translated the Tao after having read it for over 20 years, and I think it's a really great translation. It will be out for purchase at some point within the next couple months, as well as an app that you'll be able to participate in Tao of the Day through the app, meaning you'll have notes, you'll select a number, you'll have notes on that, and then from there you will be able to hear conversations I've had with different people regarding different translations of that number. So I'm hoping that we can get three different conversations, three good conversations. I mean, I've had lots of conversations over each of these chapters, some of them much less. I don't know why, but some numbers just never come up. I don't know which ones those are. My website has all of these episodes and they're searchable. So you can search a certain number by searching hashtag number that you want to find, and then find all of the related conversations I've had around that. Now, when I don't have a guest, I usually don't upload it to there because it's just me talking about it. And, like me, my going through the Tao is different than my talking about the Tao. My going through the Tao is me kind of exploring concepts and ideas that the Tao presents in a bigger and deeper way. I'm going to bring Julie up. I want to thank Julie because she is training to be a what is it called?
A CBT
Hypno
hypno. Yeah,
hypnotherapist. Is that?
yeah.
Now, what were you gonna say? Because you didn't start saying hypno. What were you gonna say?
CBT. So it's cognitive behavior
Oh,
therapy.
cognitive behavioral.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So you are kind of focusing on a CBT hypnotherapist.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay.
It's about our own behaviors and within our bodies and the
Mhm.
feelings of and the movements that our bodies, muscles, atoms, everything has towards.
Are accustomed to make. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, giving us a feeling, and then we are adapting that feeling then um, to situations that may be more positive, So
Yeah.
if yeah, it's a repatterning almost, and it's gleaned from within. It's
Yeah.
me. It's not me doing the work again.
Right.
It's not
Yeah. The
me put by.
greatest the
Yeah,
greatest guidance is when your guide knows it's not them doing it.
that's right. Yes.
Because when your guide thinks they're doing it, they think, this goes on in all sorts of different relationships. When you think you're doing it, you think there's something wrong with you if it doesn't get done. There's
Yes.
not. Like,
Yeah.
it not getting done is exactly what needs to be happening right now.
Absolutely, absolutely, spot on,
Yeah.
and also then it creates, um, it creates uh, a thing where you are not then dependent upon
Right.
have independence, which is really a lovely thing.
Yes,
Really,
you don't become, well, I always like to differentiate a little bit because you aren't like you are dependent upon air and others and water and all of these things, and so when a lot of people kind of get into this, and I've talked about this idea of the wound of independence. Being independent is a really scary thing, but being an individual, like being yourself, Like those are
Yes.
different things, right? Like being an individual as you are and accepting as you are, accepting yourself as you are, and that you are going to change and grow and
Yeah.
move forward, right? Like this is you. You're an individual and you're having an individual experience. And that
Yes.
is not being presented by someone. Your experience is separate from the presentation you are receiving. The
Yeah.
presentation is merely a manifestation of that which you are to experience,
Yeah. You
and so yeah, those are
know,
beautiful things.
are amazing, Martin John. I love it because you know me so well that you know what I'm trying to say, even though my words sometimes go all the way around the marbley bush.
Well, it's a like I've been doing this for a little while, and it's important to, because as the Tao states, right, like you can't express it with words, and we
Yeah,
can't, but if we're going to try to, we have to be really diligent in how we're going to express ourselves, and not
yeah,
not to say that you're doing this, but many people take shortcuts and say this is it and this is the thing, and it's like, I always, by them doing that, they're like, I am telling you this is it, and it's like, no, don't do that.
yeah,
Like just let it be it, and
yeah,
I'll stop and start and grow and box myself in and do all those things as needed. And as that continues, I will continue to expand. I will continue to change my cognitive narrative around that which I am experiencing
yeah.
and grow. I was journaling this morning, and I went through the meditation twice yesterday, once in the afternoon when I got it, and then once in the evening when I went to bed. And it's a really beautiful tool for me to be using right now. And it's great for me to kind of just recognize, am I paying attention to Julie? Is my mind wandering? Am I here? Am I present? And so I wanted to thank you again for doing all that work, because I know that that's not easy, and I'm really, like, doing it at night is really great because it's so much quieter than in the afternoon, just in
Mm.
general, and it seemed like it was much louder when I was listening to it in bed,
Yeah, yeah. I recorded that for you outside.
and it's
I
great.
Yeah, I was sat on a seat on a sunny day. It's very comfortable. Um, the grass had been mown. There were beautiful flowers, daffodils, primroses, birds in the trees, and I thought, how lovely
Yeah.
is that, Rob? Because it's natural.
Yeah, there were like there were crows during some parts, and then there were like songbirds, and then the crows came back. It was a really beautiful sort of like environment.
Yeah, and I was really pleased with that. That was a gift for you.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Yourself. This is something that I have definitely said. It is something that you will work with in your own way, and you will receive it in your own way, and you will do with it what you feel.
What I do with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So it's
Yeah.
lovely. Um,
Yes,
I'm
love it.
glad you asked me to do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's Dow up. What you
Number
got a number?
Right. I'm gonna go for a number, and the number is 43.
43. So 43, the title is Be Silent and Learn.
Mm,
The flexible will outlast the rigid. The gentle will outlast the hard. Tao, which has no structure, has penetrated all, even that which has no space to enter. Through this, I see that unforced action and silence are the only path to completeness. action, free of expectation and desire. This is the lesson of the nature of things. Listen to your nature, be silent, and learn.
Mm.
You know, the first couple lines are like, they say like the flexible outlast the rigid, the gentle will outlast the hard. Then it says Tao has no structure, has
Mm.
penetrated all, even that which has no space to enter. And those things are brought together into one sort of grouping of lines. And that's interesting to me because, like, what do they have to do with one another? Can you see any connection there? Because I might be missing it.
For me, the first line reminds me of a mighty oak standing next to a blade of grass.
Yeah.
And the mighty oak may look strong and rigid and looks like it has more to it, but in fact, it is very similar in the fact that it has all the atoms and life force in it that the blade of grass does. But
Mm-hmm.
when the wind blows and the wind blows strong, that rigidity creates its own demise.
Yeah.
The blade of grass will bend with the wind
And
and
even if a branch were to break off and land on that blade of grass will
grow round.
still grow around it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's not all about what's on the top either.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I look at this like Tao has no structure.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. Like flexibility will outlast the rigid, gentle will outlast the hard. We live our lives with all of this structure
Mm,
and we try to have relationships, which is penetrating. I mean, not just sexually, but penetrating the life of somebody, right? Influencing them.
mm,
And we attempt to do those things with all of this structure, right? We have money, or we have jobs, or we have status, or we have titles. But
yeah.
Tao has no structure and has penetrated everything. It is within everything, and yet
Mm,
it has no structure.
yeah.
Even a thing that has no way of entering it. And these are those opposites, right? Flexibility, we think, like it's better to be flexible than rigid in your thinking, in your
Mm,
life. Gentle will outlast the hard. It's better to be gentle. It's better to be kind than it is to force your will upon others. Now, this last one, Tao, which has no structure, has penetrated all things. You want to contribute to the world. Don't have a structure. Don't have a goal. Don't have. I've been thinking about the word ambition
intent
recently.
is mine. In
What's that?
intent. When you
Intent. Yeah,
intent,
right.
that,
That creates structure.
yeah, and it creates problems for me.
Right.
It creates me when I think about having an intent. It creates the opposite almost of the probability of failure. If I don't have intent and I allow things just to be
Hmm.
with no force from myself in any way, and I just go with flow,
Yeah.
there is no failure or success.
Right. They both are. This is why the Tao says you succeed in everything, because you look at the thing when you're done and you're like, oh wow, that's nice, and then you move on. But like that, oh wow, that's nice, that is success because you
Yeah,
haven't put it on a measuring device.
yeah, yeah.
This continues through this. I see that unforced action, no structure, no intent, no rigidity, and silence are the only path to completeness. without and silence is silence in your mind too, like, because as soon as you say this is failure, this is success, that's not silent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So even speaking, even thinking, or letting your mind go there, that's not silence. It's not just in your outward experience, but your inward experience as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Action free of expectation or intent and desire, like a desire to have it happen. This is the lesson of the nature of things. Like, I remember, when I was a kid, I looked at my cat and I was just like, you're so content just sitting there with nothing to do. And I was like, why do I have to do all this stuff? And you can just sit there in the sun and be happy. And I remember just not being able to just be happy, just sitting there in the sun or whatever.
Yeah. The cat was teaching you something.
Oh yeah. And that's what she's doing, right? Listen to your nature, be silent and learn. All the cat's doing is sitting there
Hmm.
and knows so much more than I do. And we run around saying that we know some shit.
I know. I actually said, someone asked me a question. If you had to come back as another thing, if you had to be reincarnated, what would you be? And
Oh, I did see it.
I chose the cat for
Oh
exact
yeah.
because the cat just tends to deal with what comes along, and then it's forgotten,
Yeah.
and then it's silent again, enjoying the simplicity of the sun.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
sitting in that sunspot, allowing this moment to be. If she gets picked up, she deals with it however she needs to. Maybe she deals with it by batting at you.
Yeah.
Maybe she deals with it by running. Maybe she deals with it by just going limp and saying, this is where I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. You're
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely. Thank you so much. It's always great to chat with you. We'll be in touch again soon.
Thank you. Take care,
All right.
darling. See you soon. Thank you.
Bye bye. We're going to talk with Samantha. It's been a while since I've chatted with you. I saw your message. Thank you. I have been well. How are you doing, dear?
Oh my goodness. I just realized that if I am to be reincarnated as an animal, I think the redhead in me would absolutely come back as a creature that comes well prepared with murder mitts. Like, it would absolutely be a cat.
Yeah, it's I don't contemplate those things very often. Like, what would you like? But my spirit animal is the squirrel, so probably something along those lines.
If there's some animal that's like half squirrel and half sloth, you like I'm right there, right
Oh
there.
yeah, no, I enjoy the like, it's interesting. A lot of people say you're always doing, 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 and I was like, yeah, I'm not. Um, at least from my perspective, I'm not. Like, I'm still very often. Um, but I think from different perspectives, it looks different. Like, it's when it is what you do or who you are, right? When it's part of you, and those are things that we have to look at, because are we just being, are we under the influence of those things and other stuff? So,
That's beautifully said. I
yeah.
love that.
Because
Um,
yeah, I don't see my doing, like, yesterday I was cutting down trees, and I did a couple other things, and I was, and someone was just like, man, you just always do stuff, and someone visited me not long ago, and, like, there was a problem with her the a thing in her car, and I was like, I'll look at it. I looked at it, and in the process, I, like, set her clock and did a couple other things, and I didn't even mention those things because they weren't remarkable, so I didn't remark upon them, right? Like, there wasn't anything that I even thought of. I was just like, oh, the clock's not set. Let's set that. And then, like, 2 days later, they were like, well, the clock's not. Did you set the clock? Because she was going to say the clock's not right. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did set the clock. He's like, you didn't tell me. I was like, why would I tell you? Like, what's the big deal? I just set the clock. You know?
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And it's like,
This
and there's this whole like thing of like, our world is very much out to have a transaction. Just be like, hey, I did
right.
this and I
Good
want to get some
deeds,
praise.
not for the accolades, but because it's a good deed just needing
Well,
to be
that's the
done.
thing. It's for me, it's not even a good deed. It's a thing that needs to be done, so you do it. Like, like
Well, I guess intent is more what I mean there. It's good because your intentions were good. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't even like, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, oh, the clock's off. Here's how like, and I said it.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny, like, because 2 days later she mentioned it, and I was just like, did I set? Oh yeah, yeah, I set the clock. Like, it was like such an off thing. I didn't even register that I was doing it. You know what I mean?
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And when I think about things like that, and I think about the Tao, I often get into this place of like, that's nothing. That's doing nothing. Like, when the first time I recognized what doing nothing was is like, I drove someone home after we were playing cribbage or whatever, and it was late, so I drove them home, and and they said, hey, thanks for the ride, I really appreciate it. I was like, oh, it was nothing. And when I said that, I was just like, whoa, it was nothing. Like, when that's true, when you can honestly say it was nothing, like, that's the point of
Yeah.
our living. Like,
Oh,
can
you
we
just
live
made
in a
me smile
space?
from ear to ear. I
Can we
love
live
that.
in a place where we're doing nothing? And it's like, oh, you did all this. Oh, it was nothing. It's literally nothing. Like, even if it,
Very.
like, even if it made us sweat or made us do, like, we're there, we're present, and we're not taking ourselves out of this moment. We're not taking ourselves out of this time. We're here and we're present.
Hmm. I almost don't need to pick a number now.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, well, okay.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not gonna go with my first choice. I'm gonna go with my second choice.
Okay.
29.
29. So number 29 is, I like this one because it's titled Make the World a Better You. You do you do you want to make the world a better place? How arrogant you must be. The world, like you, is sacred and cannot be improved. A force of will would ruin it. If it had a guide, it would be misled. There are times for all things, even this, whatever it happens to be. The master allows all things to be as they are. She doesn't want to control them. She simply lets them do what they do. She also does what she does, staying connected to Tao.
That's some truly radical symbiosis. Even though we were just talking about.
Yeah.
That's kind of blowing my mind a little bit, to be quite honest. I love that.
I like how this one's title, like, Make the World a Better You. It doesn't ever say, really, like, stop stop trying to make stop trying to change the things around you and make them better. But, like, the title references you, right? It's like, make you better, and all of that will fall into place.
Absolutely. The world is a reflection of how you see yourself.
Right.
I
That's right.
firmly believe that, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and if you choose, because I believe, for most people it is a choice, to get up every day and be a little bit better than you were the day before, you know? Um, you're doing yourself a kindness, and I'm always speaking about giving yourself grace. Then you start to see the world with that same lens.
Yeah, exactly. When you can, and we're going to start going through this line by line, but when you can be in that space of like allowing, and when I talk about the Tao, I always say, like, this is a book that helps us live a more reasonable life. And what I mean by reasonable is exactly this. It's what's in 29 is this idea of don't ask anything to change for you. Just continue to receive what is happening and look at it and see how this is you, how this is what you have created in whatever way. And I know that that's difficult at difficult times, especially in Tennessee right now with the school shooting and all of that. Like how do we how do we how do we justify that? We have to make sure that we're separating ourselves from the thing. The thing was the shooting. What is my experience of the shooting? Now,
Absolutely.
now we start making the world a better us, because if we can take that into consideration, how do you want to make the world a better place? How arrogant you must be. The world, like you, is sacred and cannot be improved. And a lot of people would jump on that and say, no, this could be better. Well, that better exists in your mind.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I wrote in some lyrics the other day, like a couple of nights ago. Um, I'm weary this life is but one long unwieldy February, a promise of growth till recently just out of reach. I felt it calling, heard it sing in the trees. It whispered, learn the lessons until you accept change with both grace and ease.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just kind of, when you were talking about accepting change and such, it reminded me of that.
Yeah. And as this goes on, like once we establish the fact that the world is sacred, like you, and even though we all go out and make mistakes or do whatever we do, quote unquote mistakes, or do things that are quote unquote wrong, we're perfect. We're here, and it's sacred to be us. Now,
Absolutely.
once we establish that it cannot be improved at this moment, because if it could be improved at this moment, it would be. And that's what we do, right? When we can do better, we do better, right? When we know
Right.
better, we do better. And so we can't do better until we know better. And so like that's why like at that moment it improves the moment you know better. But until that moment, you are where you are, and that's it. And you just have to be here. You have to be here. You have to cry. You have to be upset. You gotta, hurt somebody. You gotta, because that's where you are. Now, a force of will would ruin it. If it had a guide, it would be misled. There are times for all things, even this, whatever it happens to be.
That reminds me of all the people who would chastise other people about touching a stove when it's hot. Well, I just told you not to touch it because it's hot. But I was always one of those kids who had to touch it to see
Hmm.
for themselves.
Yeah. And it's not, like, okay, you burned yourself. Now deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But now I know.
Right. Now you know. And, the thing and, I'm dealing with this as well with myself, this idea of what is your responsibility being connected and loving this other person? Because
Mhm.
when you take on the responsibility of another person, you will be hurt by their actions.
Absolutely. To accept love is to accept um heart heartache at some point. That's an absolute given. And it takes the form of so many varied things. But to accept love is to also accept loss at some point.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. And we
No,
don't have
not
to
at all.
define it as pain. We don't have to define it as bad. We don't have we just that is part
It's
of it.
the ebb and flow.
You have been born, and that is going to and you have received life, and you will have to give it back someday.
Hmm.
And that's okay. And to be okay with
Absolutely.
that for yourself and for others, and understand that they are on a journey that is not yours. And this is why, do you think you can make the world a better place? How arrogant you must be. Like, Do you think you can make yourself better? That's all you can do. The master allows all things to be as they are. She doesn't want to control them. Even her children, even her relationships, she doesn't want to control them at all. She simply lets them do what they do. She also does what she does, staying connected to Tao.
Almost like living and leading by example. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're profoundly doing the right thing, and not calling attention to it, people will naturally follow that lead, I believe. Um,
So, you mentioned leading by example. Number 58 states later in the verse, the master therefore is content to simply be an example.
oh, yeah, there you
She
go.
has she has no desire to impose and trusts all she oversees. So anything that she's overseeing, she trusts. Even that is just like, a plant in a garden or a person on a bus. She trusts that they know. She trusts that they are doing what is best for them. And that is living by example. By trusting others, you show them how to trust as well.
Absolutely. That's a radical kind of trust, really, when you think about it. Um, to just inherently trust that though you may not understand it, it's a path forward for them. It's their journey, it's their lens, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Because, and you have to be able to really let people alone,
Mhm.
But I think a lot of people have slowly stepped away from trusting themselves. And so they trust others. And they constantly are, and they've learned how to look outside of themselves for guidance. And that's difficult.
Oh, yeah. Self-validation was one of the best things I ever learned to do. I'm about to run out of time, but I love you, and I'm so glad to talk to you.
It's always so great to talk to you, Samantha. Thank you so much for joining me. It's beautiful to be able to connect with you all. Julie with 43 and Sam with 29. And this is my rendition of the Tao. And like I said, it is going to be at some point. It is going to be published. I'll self-publish it somewhere, and as soon as it is, you'll be able to purchase it. There'll also be an app that'll get made. This is all like I have to financially be able to do that. So if you guys benefit from what I talk about and what I do, please consider giving me a tip over at Venmo at martinjohn_Garcia. Otherwise, I also take tips through my profile on Linktree, which you can find on my profile here on Wisdom. Thank you so much once again, and it's always great to bring things together, like when Samantha said um, the thing about like living by example, and then I was able to reach that. I was able to also find that 53 that connected that, and because it is all connected. Now there is something to be said about going through these one at a time, like number one, then number two, then number three, because there is a loose sort of linear progression to some of the concepts that are in here, but that is also not necessary, like because it's speaking about the same thing. When we read 29 and Samantha came up with the idea that, it's living by example. Well, there's yes, exactly. Because even though there's 81 verses, there's one message. The problem is that message can't be received, and it can't be expressed in words. You can't read it. You can't understand it. You have to know it. and reading it and going through it and contemplating it eventually brings it into the whole. This isn't, it is very, it goes against a lot for me to present Tao of the Day, because speaking about Tao is not what you do. However, this is something that has been a part of my life and I love, and there are times where I want to take a break from it, and I do. And then there are times where it's calling me back to continue to talk about Tao. Talking about Tao doesn't get you to understand it, though. But I hope in the way that I talk about it and the way that I translated it, it's helping people realize that it's not here in these words. It's in you. I'm going to read 29 again, because when you make yourself, when you recover yourself, as I speak about, when you make the world a better you, and that's serious, like the world, like we should really be in awe of the planet and realize that we're on here and are part of the universe. And when I say world, I do kind of mean universe. Make the universe a better you. Like, Tao has given you life and is asking you to surrender to Tao. And when you do, all of the things that you picked up that are not you get in the way. And those are your lessons. And you're always connected to Tao. But when you can find a way to make it better for you, make a better you. Like, tomorrow, are you going to be better than you are today? And what are you doing today to make that happen? And I'm not saying exercise, maybe exercise, and I'm not saying do something. I mean, but what is happening? What do you think that looks like? Because so many people are out trying to make the world a better place. They look outside and they say, that's not right, I'm going to yell about that. And then they do. And then it's like, oh God, here we go. Now we got this again. Got another person that doesn't like what they see and wants to change the thing that they see. And they only see it how they see it because it's just your perception. It's not real. It's just a big lie you tell yourself. Do you want to make the world a better place? How arrogant you must be. The world, like you, is sacred and cannot be improved. A force of will would ruin it. If it had a guide, it would be misled. There are times for all things, even this, whatever it happens to be. The Master allows all things to be as they are. She doesn't want to control them. She simply lets them do what they do. She also does what she does, staying connected to Tao. It's important to understand that you get to do what you do because you're sacred. And that which is driving you to do it is sacred. In the same breath, so is everything around you. Nothing is stopping you from being you other than you. Nothing is holding you back. Nothing is weighing on you that you haven't elected to have weigh on you. Just let the things around you do what they do. I've talked about Wim Hof before about this. Wim Hof isn't even asking the cold to be warmer. He puts himself in it and he allows the cold to be cold and he heats himself up. And that's how he has made the world a better him. And that's how we can do it too. I mean, we might not do it with cold, but we'll do it with something. Can we receive what the world is offering? And when we do, can we offer as well? Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Martin John. This is Tao of the Day. We're going to wrap up. I appreciate you guys being here. And yeah, once again, I'm Martin John, the recovery mentor. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.